Yeah. How do you ensure that the AU, like the summit, is not just a talk shop? So, yeah. In fact, one of the criticisms of the AU itself is that its deliverables are not visible to the citizens. We do have studies that have been conducted or research, and their conclusions have been that no, the EU is not very visible. We need to do more in terms of visibility, but also even the Pan-African Parliament, but also that it is a talk shop, as the word language that you've used. Yes, we have heard about it. It is the duty of Pan-African Parliament, one of our duties, among others who may also have similar duties, to ensure that whatever transpire in Addis, it may not be 100% because some of the things we don't know, but it's our duty to make sure that the citizens of this continent know what has come out from the AU meetings. And then we take these, ours is to take them back to national parliaments. That's where the grassroots are. Grassroots people can then participate.
Hello family, brothers and sisters, hopefully okay, you are doing well. Have good news in one side also, but a sad news in the other side. This weekend, African leaders will attend the 39th Summit of African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. But in a sad way, our beloved leaders and the brave leaders of Sahel, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso will not attend the summit. Why? Because they are being sanctioned by the African Union for what African Union is believing there is unconstitutional changes of government in those countries. So Traore, Goita, and Abdulrahman Chan will not attend the African Union summit. But the same African Union that are sanctioned Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso is working closely with America. America that captured a ruling president of Venezuela. Is that a democracy? And why for Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Why not for America? You may say America is not a member of African Union. Yes, it's not a member. If it's not a member, why you work with a country that sometimes dictating a certain country? As I speak to you now, US has deployed troops in Nigeria. What African Union is saying about that? Is that a sovereignty? Or you can say Nigeria has decided. If Nigeria accepted US troops in Nigeria, and why African Union don't recognize the people of Niger, the people of Burkina Faso, the people of Mali, by accepting Ibrahim Traore, accepting Assimi Goita, accepting Abdulrahman Chan? So what's the difference? What's the difference? So it is sad to see that our continental body is dividing Africa instead of bringing Africans together. One day I said, what if we'll maybe witness military coup in maybe 30 countries in the continent of Africa? All of those countries will be suspended. And if those countries will be suspended, what if those countries will decide to create their own organization? Will we have African Union? So African Union has failed to interpret what happened in Mali, in Niger, and in Burkina Faso. They can't differentiate between revolutions and military coup.
What say the water issue? People need to know that the AU has made the theme is on water, for example. And what this needs to be unpacked. In order to unpack through our MPs we go out. But there are other things that how we do it. Sometimes as our committees at PAP, we have 13. One of them is the audit, the other is youth, the other is women. We go out. We don't only operate from Midrand. We go out of Midrand to several countries, to Ethiopia, to wherever, conducting what we call public hearings. We do that because of budget limitations, of course. We can't go to all the countries and all the cities in any particular country. So we may go to one or two places just to get a feel, to get the temperature, to get the pulse from the people on water and other issues. So you be assured that one of our programs, as I mentioned earlier, is to popularize, to make people aware of the theme, what it entails, and what will be the citizen participation contribution to this theme, and what impact we expect out of that. So this is public hearings, which we conduct as a parliament. We also ask people if they want, they can petition the parliament. Through MPs, you can petition parliament on an issue of public interest. You can petition PAP and say, parliamentarians, please. And you can do that from any village. Through your parliament, you can write straight direct to parliament, PAP. You can write an email if you have the email, WhatsApp, not to come, but even a letter post and say, please, we have this issue as a petition. Parliament is expected to table that in any debate, and if possible, where possible, follow up, come to your country, to Rwanda, to Central African Republic, and say, we are here, we've done that. There was an issue about child labor in Cote d'Ivoire at one time. Our committee went to Cote d'Ivoire to look at these reports on child labor in Cote d'Ivoire, and we have those reports. And I believe we caused the child labor incidences to diminish a lot. People can request to say we have an energy issue, education issue. Then you go to the relevant committee on education and meet our committee at PAP on education. Give your views to the committee. The committee will bring that report to the bigger, what you call plenary debate, and resolve. If it's about a country, we resolve and send even a team to that country on that particular issue. We had a hot issue last year from Gambia, what they call it the Gambia, on female genital circumcision. They wanted to pass a law to permit such practice. There was a lot of outcry out there. PAP wrote to the parliament to say no. In other language, you say this is an anachronism, something that is totally outdated, that you cannot reintroduce it in parliament in the modern civilized age. So we make an impact also mainly through active citizens. So it's sometimes very difficult for us to be appreciated or to make an impact if we do not have active citizens who are the voice of their own communities. So the more you write to us, you say petition, are you aware of this? Sometimes we don't know what is happening. You may have MPs, yes, 5 from your country, but they may not know about a particular section of their country. And we may seem not to be acting even as Pan-African Parliament. Then civil society And civil society means everything, means everybody. Any component, any quarter of civil society is permitted through the Civic Society Forum. There's a forum for civic society where the youth, women, and others can provide input or have their voice heard at Pan-African Parliament. So you are always welcome. Please assist us to spread the information, to disseminate the information about Pan-African Parliament and what it can do. And it will do, despite limitations, of course, of money. We have one of the worst budgets in the AU, which is not enough to do anything. But we never sit and say there are no resources, so sit. No. Within those limitations, we perform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, President of Pan-African Parliament. Thank you for media, for attendance and participation. And thank you. See you next time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well provided for in the protocol. And of course, much more explained in the rules of procedure. The Pan-African Parliament function number one is to facilitate the implementation of the African Union programs, policies, and objectives. Number two, the Pan-African Parliament is expected in terms of functions to promote human rights and democracy on the continent, and even when it goes further, to deepen and create a culture of democracy and also strengthen democratic institutions on the continent. The Parliament is also expected to ensure that the people, citizens of this continent, are aware of the programs being undertaken by the African Union. So it is the responsibility of the Parliament to ensure that the citizens of this continent are aware of what the African Union is doing. Agenda 2063, for example, which by implementing that agenda, it means will improve the lives of the people on this continent. And I should mention that within Agenda 2063, one of the critical components which our citizens need to be aware of and promote is the issue of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. It's an agreement ratified again by member states, which is intended to recover or ensure recovery of economies on this continent. All the 55 countries, through the AfCFTA, if we implement it properly, every country's economy will grow by at least 32%. That is huge. It means it will expand job opportunities, especially to the youth whom are crying out there also for some income and a source of living. So even the media, we expect the media to work very hard in disseminating this information about continental free trade area and what each citizen should be doing. And again, it's the responsibility of PAP to ensure that the citizens of this continent are aware of all these initiatives and are well supported. We are also responsible, or we assist other organs in ensure that the protocols and other conventions that they want signed by member states, PAP has the capacity, is a unique capacity to ensure ratifications. Our unique capacity arises from the fact that we have 5 members of parliament from each one of the parliaments on the continent. We have 5. And in each delegation, we make sure that there is a woman. So these PAP members can, when they go out after a debate at Pan-African Parliament in South Africa, Midrand, where the parliament sits, when they go back to their national parliament, then they push issues coming from the African Union in their national parliaments. So that's a unique advantage within the African Union community. No other organ enjoys such an advantage which permeates into every country in terms of representation. So that's another very important area. One major area linked to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Treaty is the agreement, is the issue of economic integration. In our protocol, the PAP protocol, it's made very clear that we are responsible as a parliament to ensure economic integration. And one of the ways for us to achieve that is to ensure that the legal texts, that the laws that we have in various countries speak to each other, speak to one another, and they are mutually supportive and reinforcing rather than contradictory laws of trade, for example. So our trade laws should be aligned in order to realize the benefits of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And it's the duty of Pan-African Parliament to ensure that we resolve and advise on some of these laws that are actually working in contradiction to the spirit of free trade. But linked to free trade, of course, is the movement of persons, free movement of persons. We still have a big challenge on the continent. We are talking of trade among African countries, but goods and services cannot move without people. Sometimes people move first in order to find a market and even procure, and then goods follow, services follow. But we have done badly, I should say, in the area of free movement of persons. Most countries will require that you get a visa to visit the neighboring country or any other country on the continent. You have to get a visa. And getting these visas is not easy because usually some countries have no embassies. So if you want to travel to this country, you live in Ethiopia, you want to move, I won't mention names of anything of any country, and then that country says you need a visa. Now, you want to get a visa for that country, fine, you have the money, maybe you have to pay $50 or something. But then you are told, but there's no embassy here in Addis Ababa. The embassy is somewhere else. For you now to send your copies of passports, and sometimes the time lapse is such that you even cancel the trip. Of course, we are a parliament, our duty is to speak on behalf of the people. This is one area we have not done well. Sometimes some of the countries actually give preference to visitors coming from outside the continent. You may not need a visa if you come from the UK or some other country to visiting an African country. But you from an African country to an African country don't need a visa. One coming from the continent does not need a visa. These are the challenges the AU should also be addressing. Otherwise, we remain a bit behind. I wanted to say backward, but behind some other countries or other continents in the world. We are there to ensure economic recovery. We are there where we see contradictions in laws. We have to ensure that we work with national parliaments to ensure harmonization of what they call legislative texts. Basically, that's the role of Pan-African Parliament. One overarching role of the PAP, overarching, is that we are a platform for the citizens' voice. We are a platform for the citizens' voice. So anyone, be they teachers, medical doctors, transporters, engineers, lawyers, journalists on this media, people on the continent, agriculturists, you name them. When you have an issue, collective issue, as a group, as a profession, you are allowed, you write to Pan-African Parliament and say, please, we as a profession, we as accountants on this continent, traders, transporters of this continent, medical doctors of this continent, we need to come together using the platform, because it's a parliament. The youth, the women in any other group can come to Pan-African Parliament and we host them for free. Even if they take a week for free, but buy your own water and something, drinks and your own lunches. But in terms of premises, it's free. You can debate among yourselves or with the MPs. You can sit in the same chamber with them, telling the MPs, you are the legislators, you are our representatives. Things are not going well in this area. You have that open door as citizens of this continent. And the MPs will, of course, respond, enrich the debate, and come up with reports which then go to each one of the African countries. The MPs will take that to their own parliament and say, right, we seem to be behind other countries in our own country, whereby we don't have this law or this policy or this practice. So Pan-African Parliament is a platform for the citizens of this continent to ensure that they make an input, their voice is heard on any issue on this continent that you can think of. And of course, you also benefit from getting it from the other side. So it's a platform for engagement on issues. And then you want to ask me, after we debated PAP, what happens? One, the MPs take these issues to the national parliaments. PAP brings those issues to this summit of heads of state in Addis. Every May, every February, every July. PAP then presents those reports coming from the citizens of this world. I want to continue that, just to be more specific. We do model laws, for example. If we see that the practice of medicine, pharmaceuticals, police, we then come up with what we call a model law for each country, and call it to copy and domesticate into their own laws. So this is the best practice. So we come up with the best standards in certain areas. And we've done so many. But recently we did the model law on labor migration in Africa. model law on labor migration in Africa, where we are looking at how should the migrant labor be protected also from abuse, from exploitation. We have that. And then we did the model law on gender equality and equity recently, end of 2025. Because there are so many views, debate about gender equality and equity. So we've come up with a model law for countries on this continent to look at, copy, domesticate. And recently, we also came up with a model law on sustainable soil management in Africa. Some of the high points, apart from these model laws in 2025, the year 2025, we had maybe for the first time, the Pan-African Parliament hosting the European Parliament. European parliamentarians came to South Africa and we had joint sessions. Parliamentarians from Europe and those from this continent, 2 days in one chamber, discussing various issues affecting Africa and even Europe and the world. First of its kind, and that is going to continue. Engaging with, we have so many issues with the European Union, as you know, several, including the whole issue of reparations, slavery, or those who colonized us come from that area. And there are certain things, artifacts, which they took, which are in Europe even today. And we are saying it's high time we engage on some of these injustices and correct some of these injustices. But also the critical issue of economic trade with Europe. As you are aware, our cry has always been that the trade currently is in favor of Europe. So we are saying, no, can we level the playing field so that we benefit? And previously, all know that the engagements were not of equals. Previously, they come as masters in Africa. When they come to your countries, they want to dominate and dictate as if they are superior to us. In our interaction, we've agreed that let's trade, let's interact as equal partners. So a new strategy for engagement is being developed. It's one of the high points, and we came up with a joint declaration together with the European Parliament, and I think this is a very interesting development. Europe would want Africa, we also want Europe, but it's critical because there are so many challenges now. The issue of the critical minerals, they also want to come closer to us. So critical minerals, there's a competition, as you know, with whether it is America, whether it is China, whether it is Russia, Europe. Everybody is rushing to grab these minerals, including the generic minerals. But I think we are saying we as Africans become more intelligent now, and trade on minerals to our advantage also, not to the disadvantage of us. We were very much involved in 2025 with the issue of the G20. The G20, which was hosted by South Africa. First time for an African country to be president of G20. That was South Africa, the president. We worked with South African institutions, especially the Parliament of South Africa, to ensure that issues from our citizens across the continent are brought to the fore, are part of the agenda, and that we find mutual solutions G20 is composed of very highly richest countries in the world, the rich 20. So there are advantages in linking, working with sometimes the giant. If they don't take everything from you, you also try to say, no, but don't take everything. We may be small, but we also have to benefit. So by being members of the G20, it's a very dynamic initiative. And South Africa, I want to congratulate South Africa. They did very well, exceptionally well, hosting G20. We did our part. We brought together all the speakers, parliaments of the continent of Africa to PAP first, to agree on our agenda as parliamentarians and our people, the citizens, for the G20. Eventually came the World Parliamentary Grouping in Cape Town. We went to Cape Town. Again, we participated as Pan-African Parliament. So we look forward to moving forward more than we've ever done before. There's the issue of peace and security architecture. The issue of peace and security on this continent, I think, has taken us behind. We lag behind the other continents. Among other reasons, one of the principal issues is peace and security. We are concentrating on conflicts. Our energies are expended in conflicts, resolving conflicts day and night, sleepless nights. Yet others are spending sleepless nights innovating. AI, artificial intelligence, which is one thing I will mention. Artificial intelligence. Others are moving forward, creating knowledge and innovating, whilst we remain stuck in ancient times of conflict. So we, as a parliament, we are very active under what we call parliamentary diplomacy, where parliaments should not just stand and watch initiatives of mediation and negotiation taking place. We have to be active players as parliamentarians to ensure that we end conflict on the continent. And to this end, we hosted last year a retreat between Pan-African Parliament and the Peace and Security Council of the African Union, where ambassadors were at PAP for 2 days with the parliamentarians, engaging on what should be done to end conflicts on the continent. We really covered a lot of ground, and then we established, as a result, we now have institutionalized mechanisms for consultation, advisory support, and early warning system. And that collaboration on early warning system, collaboration, advisory support is going to strengthen further with a view to eliminating conflicts on the continent. We also, as I've said, we're a platform for citizens. So last year we hosted under the citizen engagement in participatory governance. Citizen engagement in participatory governance. Last year we hosted an annual, we hosted annual citizen forum. We had a annual youth summit, I think with more than 500 youths for 2 days in our chamber, debating, sharing ideas of issues that affect the youth. And you know, we have a serious youth problem, the youth bulge on the continent, where more than 60% of our population is youth, and it's even getting worse and worse proportionally. And the youth are saying, look, they don't have space for them also to operate as effective, valuable citizens of society. So 2 days of engagement, and those deliberations and outcomes will be shared, I think, very soon, maybe 1 month or so. Take an interest in that report as it is being published. We worked, of course, with the APRM, the African peer review mechanism. and we did very well. Women's conference, again, we had a women's conference at PAP on Beijing plus 30, meaning last year was the 30th year after women met in China, Beijing in 1995 to look at their circumstances as women across the world. It was 30 years last year, so it was a taking of stock as to what achievements had been realized by after 30 years. It was a very, 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 very informative conference. 2026, this year, we are looking forward to more model laws. You'll get to know about them as we go. But already in the area of health, I think we are likely to punch hardest in that area. A model law on health, on mental health, on cancer, clinical trials, health data sovereignty, cell and gene therapy, and eliminating malaria, eliminating and eradicating malaria, HIV, and tuberculosis. Those are coming. Then the issue of parliamentary diplomacy will do more. And also will be, as we are expected, is one of their functions to make people aware, citizens aware. The new theme for 2026, which is being proposed, I think will be passed by Sunday by the Assembly, the theme which is assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goal of Agenda 2063, will be very actively engaged on this matter. We'll be hosting, I think again for information, take note of this one, PAP will be holding the third Global Parliamentary Summit against hunger and malnutrition. So PAP will host the world in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. The summit will focus on strengthening legal frameworks, political dialogue, and adopting policies for sustainable food systems. So parliaments from across the world will meet at PAP in Midland in June, around the 15th, mid-June. Please keep track of developments so that you attend. We're actually invited to be in South Africa to attend this very, very unique conference in Africa. Then we have a lot of other activities under our strategic plan and oversighting other legislative activities on the continent. I can't be exhaustive. If I were to be exhaustive, you may need to go for supper, dinner, and come back. It's long. PAP is for everything and for everyone. I've just tried to catch some of the salient aspects of our work. I thank you. I know I took so long deliberately, so because this opportunity comes once in 10 years.
Thank you, Your Excellency. The floor is open for media. If somebody interested in raising questions, you and later.
Your Excellency, good afternoon. Good afternoon to my colleagues here. Your Excellency, you mentioned some of the achievements that the Pan-African Parliament has done over the past few years. You've mentioned laws able to draw up and frameworks that you've been able to draw up in the Pan-African Parliament. Now, my question is along the lines of the African free trade area. You mentioned some of the challenges, which is being able to come up with a framework that aligns with all of the countries involved. So my question is, what exactly is the Pan-African Parliament doing to make sure that there is a framework that every country within the AFCFTA is following? Because as we've seen, the AFCFTA hasn't been as effective as planned to be.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for the opportunity. Hilary here, Hilary Panashe from LN24 International. My question is regarding energy policies. You speak about AI and young people wanting to actually get into industries. The African Union has been at the forefront of pushing industrialization across the African continent, right? We've got resource beneficiation, and all of these are energy intensive. Don't you think that the just transition policy is counterproductive to our agenda as the African continent? Industrialization and beneficiation. I ask this question particularly as you look at what's happening in Europe. Countries like Germany had decided that they wanted to actually move in a particular direction when it comes to this green energy. There are signs of deindustrialization in their economies, meaning to say the policy that is geared towards green energy is not really productive for a continent like Africa, which is trying to actually industrialize. What are your thoughts with regards to the just energy transition?
Okay. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for taking us through the achievements of the Parliament under your leadership. I think you have achieved so much, but like you also admitted that in the area of free movement, we have done badly as a continent. Like you said, we have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which has come into force since. Implementation has started since around 2021. About, I think, 50 countries have ratified this agreement, members of the African Union. I think only Eritrea has not signed. However, the free movement protocol is still there. No member states are very, very skeptical about it. They don't want to do anything about that particular protocol, which has only been ratified by 4 member states of the AU. I know you spoke about the model law on labor migration that the Parliament has come up with. My question is, you are the, you represent, you work with you are the Continental Parliament, but you also work with member states' parliament because members of your parliament come from the parliaments of the member states. What are you doing to use your agency as the Pan-African Parliament to push this very important protocol with the national parliaments of our member states? Because, like you said, people, you can't have a free trade when people are not free to move. And, I know there's secretocrats, bureaucrats, have all their reservations about this matter, but we have seen countries that have exemplified, this opportunity for Africans to move freely, like Rwanda, and we are not seeing them having serious challenges. In fact, their economies are growing, and they're benefiting from it. I think that we need to sensitize our member states to see the value in allowing Africans to move freely, because the benefits that will come with that is going to be really immense. Thank you.
I think we can take those 3 questions. For the second round, we can take other questions, please.
I want to say you are asking very good and challenging questions. FCTA framework for every country, our role remains, first of all, corroborating, interacting with the AFCTA. They are the experts in what is it that is the bottleneck. They will identify those bottlenecks as the AFCTA. It employs experts. So we invite them. This one critical thing. As PAP, we make sure every session AFCTA is on part of the program. Because they are critical, they have to come every session to tell us, where are we? We want to tell the continent, how far have we gone? What are the impediments? Tell us. If we get them, as you do, we then write reports that go to national parliaments. And one of our members moves a motion in each of the continental national parliaments and ignites a debate that we as Ethiopia, we've been singled out as one of the countries that are not cooperating to boost trade. Then, as a result, the parliament will summon the minister responsible. Or the relevant committee in that parliament will summon the minister responsible. Why are we lagging behind on this? So the MPs at the national level take the responsible minister to task. Sometimes agree on deadlines. And that's PAP would have initiated all that. Basically, it's our engagement with FCTA reporting to us. We go to the MPs, go down there. Some of the reports come over to Addis Ababa. The issue of artificial intelligence, industrialization, beneficiation, it is true that as we celebrate artificial intelligence, everywhere in the world, we have not quite understood some of the repercussions. At a time when we are saying the youth have no jobs, AI is cutting the jobs in very significant proportions. It's a contradiction. Some will say, okay, embrace AI. Within that, there will be opportunities. In the new digital world, there will be an opportunity, so you can just embrace and go. But there have been some experts, some of the developers of AI who are also a bit pessimistic about AI, digital, opening more opportunities for everybody. It is, at the moment, eliminating the number of jobs in most organizations. So, it is true that the full negative impact of AI may not be well known, and it may result into serious more challenges. Just transition. And you are right. This game of climate change and what should be done, we in Africa, of course, are paying the highest cost. And at one of the COPs which I attended, India was very clear that I'm very, very coal dependent. And for you to say I can move from coal and then you give us money to transition from fossil fuels to green fuels, that India was saying, I don't see us achieving that. Monies have been promised, they don't come, the money doesn't come. So your observation is very correct. We have to be very, very cautious. Very, very cautious. Because we are the losers. And there's nothing like just. And you are right, Germany's experience, this green energy thing, there's nothing to celebrate about that. Free movement, reluctant, very reluctant to open up their borders and immigration laws and allow, like in Europe, Schengen, when you have a Schengen passport or ask Schengen visa, you crisscross Europe as if you are within your own country. You just cross into the next country without a visa. You just go through immigration and then you are there. You are allowed. No visa. You can traverse the whole of Europe, at least those within the Schengen agreement, without one visa. For us, you get a visa, one, to get into Europe. So if France gives me a visa, it applies to all other countries. That's what we should do in Africa. But somehow, we are too protective. And someone even spoke of the securocrats. No, they want to ease these fears, and if we open to everybody, if, and the politicians also then develop some cold feet about it. But even if you ask in Europe, before they introduced Schengen, they also had similar fears that maybe people from this country will flood our country. But today, no one is complaining. Those that are flooding are coming from Africa, who are not even part of the Schengen. Within Europe, they are comfortable. They have no complaints. Say, maybe people from this country have all moved to another country. Nothing. It's not there. It's what is called the fear of the unknown. They just think that if we open, things may not go right. And as we do that, we are blocking trade. And as you say, the protocol, the number of countries that have ratified this protocol is one of the lowest in the AU, the lowest in the AU. Countries are reluctant to sign this one. We need to work hard. And at PAP, any opportunity to raise this issue, to push this issue, we'll seize any opportunity to make sure that this is contradictory to want to have more trade when you say people should not move. It's very contradictory. Labor migration, as you say, this is urgent. It has to get to every country, and every country has to ratify. But in our case, our labor migration model, I don't know, how many months now? 4 months. It's very recent. So much of the marketing or lobbying, if you want to call it in politics, is lobbying. 2026, we'll do a lot of lobbying to make sure national parliaments take this very, very seriously. And let's work together with the media and move in this chapter. I've tried, I think, to respond.
يعني أحلام.
Much. Ahlam Mohammed from Ethiopian News Agency. Question is, my name is Ahlam Mohammed from Ethiopian News Agency. Yeah, thank you. My question is, Ethiopia is heading to conduct national dialogue for its first time ever, national dialogue. Yeah, Ethiopia. So is there any kind of cooperation between Ethiopian government and the court, parliament? Any kind of cooperation between Ethiopian government and the parliament in this issue, national dialogue?
I got a question. Can I proceed?
Yes.
That's actually good news to us. You've just shared some breaking news that Ethiopia is going into national dialogue. I want to be honest, we are not quite seized with that issue at PAP. We may have read somewhere, but this is scanty information. It's good for the continent. Very, very, very good. Ethiopia has had too many years of conflict, and even sometimes across the border, Eritrea, sometimes another. We need peace. Ethiopia has a lot of potential. A lot of potential, this country. You can see it, the way Addis Ababa has transformed. I always tell people, and I want to be honest, I passed through Addis when I was a student at university. Some time back, late 80s, but that time, and what Addis is today, it is more than 100 times transformation for the better. And it confirms the potential for this country. It should be one of the giants economically on this continent. But the cost of conflict and insecurity has kept the pace of development very slow. So just to celebrate the dialogue, we don't have the much information about the nature, character, who, when, how, and that we don't have yet a SPAP. So clearly we are not part, we are not involved. We have no role in the dialogue, but just to celebrate that initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. If we have follow-up question, very short, so we will not keep His Excellency for too long, please.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. My question is with regards to the point that you made, that the Pan-African Parliament is there to represent the interests of the citizens. How does this happen, and how do citizens participate? I'm not talking about those who are politically connected, those who know their mayor or their parliamentarian. I'm talking about an ordinary citizen who is watching this session right now, who wants to say, I do not agree with what the African Union is doing, and I want my parliamentarians to tell the African Union to actually do this. How do they participate? That's question number one. Related to that also, what mechanisms do you have in place to ensure that all these discussions that happen year in, year out are not just talk shops? As the parliamentarians, how do you hold the African Union to account when it comes to the things that they adopt to ensure that they are implemented? Right now we're discussing things to do with water. How do we get to the person who is suffering water scarcity in the rural areas, who does not have any political connections, who does not have any connections whatsoever to speak to the parliamentarian? Thank you.
Yeah, some good questions again coming through. Jeff, you know, we have a media. In terms of communication, how do people participate? I'll come in also. But Jeff, we can explain. When we have our sessions, how do people get to know what we are discussing, what we are debating on, what we have resolved? He's the communications expert. So he will tell us, he'll tell you so that you see that not only me, although I'm not a politician, but you think he's talking politics. Let me take someone who is.
Well, thank you very much, Excellency. Thank you, dear colleagues. Indeed, the entire objective is to ensure that discussions are made available and that activities of Pan-African Parliament are distributed and disseminated around the continent, even beyond. So we try as much as we can, especially as part of the media and communication strategies, to find new ways to adapt and to ensure that we respond to the needs, given the environment, the media environment is changing. One of the things that we've performed well over the past few years is to ensure that our statutory meetings, for instance, which is our key to the Pan-African Parliament, making that contribution to the African Union, are live streamed. So our social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, are always live when the parliamentarians are engaging. So from this meeting, for instance, we invite you to please follow us to ensure that you don't miss out on any of the deliberations that the Continental Parliament really does hold with regards to the theme of the year, with regards to the strategic objectives that it's supposed to attain. Then, of course, we try as much as we can to engage media from across the continent. For instance, we recently launched, well, not recently, but we keep improving it, the African Press Parliamentary Network, for instance. What the Pan-African Parliament is trying to do is to create a circle of media friends that understand the work of Parliament, but that also can report on the politics at the African Union level. So we have that group that we've created, but it's not an exhaustive group. Of course, it is open to every journalist, all the media personnel that actually want to be interested in the affairs of the African Union and the Pan-African Parliament. So you are invited to be part of that. We try, whenever budget allows, to bring in journalists and media to the Pan-African Parliament for them to actually see what really goes on, and for them to be our ambassadors whenever they are not at our headquarters and try and put the word forward. So what we've also done recently, and there are things that require budget, other things are very simple, like tours to the Pan-African Parliament. The Parliament by nature is open. Our institution is very open. So we try to engage in tours to show whether students, civil society, and everyone that really wants to understand the work to come to the Pan-African Parliament and, of course, see what we do, how we do it, what the parliamentarians engage in, or that's for those who can come to the Pan-African Parliament. In other words, if you cannot come to the Pan-African Parliament, we're trying to make sure that information is available on our different platforms, and that you can engage with us, write to us, and we will try as much as we can to respond to you and give you the information that you require, so that the parliamentarians, for instance, on our website now, what we are doing is ensuring that the delegations are there. That if you go on our website, you're from Kenya, for instance, you click on Kenya, you can see the members of Kenya that are from the Pan-African Parliament. So if you're in Kenya, then you can actually perhaps identify and interact with them from Kenya if you have something specific to say to them, if you want them to convey a message. That's also one of the things that we try and perform in a nutshell. But if you have specific questions, I'm still here, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Yeah, or communication.
Communications, okay.
Thank you, Africa.